it has been reported that there's been the 9th case now in the UK.
Yeah.
The list is gone up. And the World Health Organization has declared a global emergency. So, talk a bit about the virus itself.
I think the main thing to say is coronavirus is not necessarily a new thing. And they've actually changed the name of coronavirus because it's quite misleading. Okay. Coronavirus is a group of viruses similar to influenza. It's a group of different viruses. So this specific one is COVID-19 is what they've called it. So it's like a mutation of a certain type of coronavirus. So I think that's important to distinguish because I did see like a meme going around with a bottle of a very well-known disinfectant which said
coronavirus. Yes, I saw that as
did you
well.
see that? So and I thought, I could understand why people would look at that because I think that's also largely why they've changed the name because coronavirus is a virus that's been around. So I suspect they needed it to be more specific so people could understand that it's a mutation, it's a new type of coronavirus that we haven't seen before. I think the most important thing that I really want to stress is that, yes, as you said, it is a global health risk, but that's global. Okay. And the risk is still quite low here, but we are taking it very seriously. Yeah. So, yes, there's a 9th case. There's lots of precautions as well. And I think when you hear these things, it can be frightening. There's, the death rate is over 60,000 now. So it is frightening and it's a large number of people. But I think the most important thing to stress about coronavirus is that the risk is still relatively low.
Okay.
So if we compare it to other viruses that have, or epidemics that we've had in recent years, the most common one that springs to mind is Ebola.
Yeah.
So if you compare it with that, so at the moment, there's not really, the data is evolving for coronavirus because we're picking up more and more cases, but the risk or the death rate, I should say, so is 4%. So that basically means that of 100 people that are infected, 4 unfortunately will die. But if you compare that with Ebola, it's 50%.
Yeah.
So of 100 people that had Ebola, 50 of those people will die. So you've got to kind of put things into perspective as well. But I think what's alarming about coronavirus is the how quickly it's spread around the world. That's what is alarming. So I think the focus has to be on trying to contain the spread, which is something that we all need to work together.
And that was going to be my follow-up question. But before that, a few days ago, I saw that you posted something, and this is to do with mortality rate. I think you've touched upon that. Yeah. And looking at coronavirus, it's 2%.
Yeah, it's gone up slightly because people are, so it's about 4% now. Okay. But I think it probably will increase slightly just because of the global epidemic. Yeah. But it's still relatively quite low, and that doesn't take away from the number of people that have died, the healthcare workers that have died.
What is the difference? I just want you to educate us here. Because I remember, I think this was back in 2008 or 2009, swine flu. I had swine flu. Yes. I had.
You did?
Yes, I did. My goodness.
And you recovered?
I recovered. So, of course, swine flu is not as deadly as coronavirus. If you could just explain.
I think, again, swine flu was a type of influenza. So it was a new type of flu that we hadn't seen before. Yeah. So it's very similar to that. So, and you're a great example there as well. You've recovered, you're fit, you're healthy, you recover. So it's important to say that, unfortunately, people that are susceptible to coronavirus are those that normally have other illnesses, so other reasons why their immune system is low. So the very frail, people with HIV, diabetes, other things as well. So that's also important to note. So, but like you said, the symptoms are actually all quite similar, very similar to a common cold, common flu. So we do know that the symptoms can be cough, temperature, not always a temperature, but you can, breathlessness, difficulty breathing, and generally feeling unwell.
So, as a doctor, if someone is exhibiting these symptoms, what would be your advice?
So, my first question is, I want to know, have they been to a high-risk country in the last 14 days? And before it was only China, but the high-risk countries have now spread. So China, Thailand, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, and Macau. So if they haven't, the risk is slightly low. But I think the other thing we have to stress is if somebody feels that they have those symptoms, do not go to A&E. Do not go to your GP. Please call 111 for further advice because we really are trying to reduce the spread of this virus. And you going to A&E, yes, I can understand you're concerned about your symptoms, but it does mean that the transmission rate is high. And also, if you call 111, you will be seen, but we just need to put those safety precautions in place at the nearest hospital or GP practice, wherever they feel is appropriate, because they will do a risk assessment on the phone.
I've seen a few people with the face mask.
Yeah.
How effective is that?
There is no evidence to suggest that the face mask actually reduces transmission, because you need to have the right type of face mask. You need to change the face mask regularly and also dispose of it correctly. So if you're not doing all of those things, it's pretty pointless. In terms of what we can do to prevent transmission and contamination is to, if you are coughing, sneezing, hand over your mouth, wash your hands with soap and water thoroughly. That will reduce transmission. So you've just got to hopefully you're already in that kind of routine anyway, but just being more mindful that you need to try and keep your hands away from your face, your nose, because that is the high risk areas. So wash your hands thoroughly, try and keep your hands away from your face and nose, use soap and water as well. If you are concerned, call 111. That's why they're there. They're manned by trained healthcare professionals, and they'll be able to either reassure you, or if they're concerned, then they can point you in the right direction.
Speaking to you is very reassuring. So I'm thinking, why all the hype?
It's a new thing. Science is evolving. It's actually interesting because we're seeing that there's a virus. Think about how many epidemics we've had in our lifetime. Yeah. It's actually a new thing. It's interesting, and also it can be quite scary to think something started and all of a sudden all these cases have come up. People are dying. It's terrifying, particularly if you're not necessarily medical. It's actually scary. So I can see why people are talking about it, and I think people should talk about it. But I think also we need to kind of balance what the facts are as well, because there's a lot of scaremongering as well.
What about the way in which China has handled this virus? I mean, I think the doctor has now passed away, the one who brought it to our attention. Yeah. I mean, they were refuting what the doctor was saying.
Yeah, I read that. It's really sad, and he's perished, so but I think they have responded. Yeah. They built a hospital in next to no time. I wonder whether we could do similar in other countries.
How safe are we here in England?
I think we're fairly safe. I think, if you're high risk category, breathing problems, asthmatic or COPD, or have a sort of weakened immune system, if you've had chemo or other medication, you will know. Okay. And you will just be more aware of those symptoms and just not being afraid to ask for help and advice if you are concerned.
So this might sound a bit rhetorical, but just want to know a bit more. So if somebody who has other complications like health issues, they're more at high risk.
Yeah, they are, because it's like your body is going to have slightly hard. It's going to be more difficult for your body to fight off that infection. So, for example, you could contract a cold and you'll be all right in a couple of days. But somebody else who's asthmatic or has COPD, it's going to take them longer to fight that infection. Yeah. So it's very similar. So the very old, the very young, where their immune systems are not as good, or people with other health conditions are more at risk.
And if somebody has it and that they you come in contact with somebody who has a coronavirus, does the virus stay with the person who it transfers to? Because I heard something on TV, I wasn't quite sure, that if somebody gets the coronavirus, that it's either the body can fight it or it doesn't, transfer to 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 people. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think I know what you're trying to explain. So I think that's just a normal virus. So for example, we're all in the room now. You could have a horrific cold and you're coughing and sneezing and spluttering. I might catch that cold, but not necessarily everybody else in the room may catch that cold, because you may have caught that cold previously and already have an antiviral for that specific cold. Okay. But there's so many different ones that we've already spoken about. So I think that's pretty much what you're saying. Yeah, so you might have already got that mutation antivirus in you, so you won't ever display any symptoms. But I don't think that's possible with this new coronavirus.
Okay. And finally, what would you say? Final word from you.
I think don't be afraid, don't be alarmed. I think the main thing to stress is if you feel that if you feel you have any of those symptoms, or you've come in contact with someone who has been suspected of having coronavirus or come from a high-risk country, do not go to A&E or your GP. Please stay at home and call 111.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Adwoa Danso, a GP, thank you for coming on the LogicBox. Hopefully we see you again.
Yes, definitely.
Talk about other issues.
Yes, many.
Okay, we're done for another day. Thank you very much. We say thank you to Jennifer and Nana Malfo, and of course Adwoa Danso, and to you. Where is Facebook? You for watching. Okay, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across all social media platforms. We're done for another day. We'll see you next time. It's goodbye from us.